Paul.
Max.
Here we
Switching
are.
to English.
Yes.
Max, who are you? Who am I?
I'm Max. So I'm basically. Ooh, you hit the
No, I didn't hit
splitter.
anything. No, I did not.
I understand that you're a bit
Nervous.
nervous, and you're a bit
Driving.
anxious for time at this point.
Yes, I'm always anxious for time.
However, I'm Max. I'm used to be a racer. Now I'm working at a construction company, and
Construction company.
yeah, you know.
Sounds like you're doing hard labor, which you're not. Man.
No, I'm not doing hard labor, but in the end, I'm working at a construction company.
Sort of.
However, in the past, we've done some things with cars.
Many things with cars.
That's why we have created a concept, podcasting concept. Yes, we have to go left. Which basically compares two cars.
Yes.
But who are you? Why
am I here?
are you here?
Paul van Splunteren. I'm the
almost
dad.
a crash. Almost a crash.
Yeah. I'm the dad.
No.
I have had many years in exotics and luxury cars.
I think with 850 horsepower, that's enough, right?
Yeah. So we're driving the
Yeah.
amazing, unbelievable Aston Martin Vanquish.
V12.
V12, B-turbo, 835 horsepower, 1,000 Newton meters.
And only 1,900 kilos.
Yeah, and I read
doesn't-
about it. They have a lightweight. They built a lightweight chassis to get to this 1,900 kilos, but it doesn't feel like 1,900.
No.
The car looks a bit more heavy. But so we have this Aston Martin,
Yes.
and then basically it's a GT. It's a Grand Tourismo to drive. And so what would be the car to put against this? Basically, more the new Bentley GT
Yeah.
would be more of a comparison, but that is not what we are comparing it with.
No, exactly. We're comparing it with a McLaren 750S.
750
So-
as the latest high-end McLaren, priced, I think, the Aston Martin retails in the Netherlands for 500 to 600,000 euros, depending on the options that you put on.
Yep.
We're now in Palm Springs,
Yep.
in the US,
Yep.
where we have, had the opportunity to drive these cars against each other. So, what is your first impression of what is the big question that we need to answer? Because we have Aston Martin, and we chose the McLaren because both are
We go right at the intersection.
both are Formula One teams
Yes.
who also make road cars.
Yes.
And Aston Martin was already a car brand, a famous motorsport car brand with its DB3, DB4s, DB5s.
Aston Martin, of course, has a very rich heritage in racing as well. James Bond is the gentleman's car. It's something, of a unique. It's a Grand Tour. It's
From a styling perspective, one of the
Yeah.
most beautiful cars.
also from the inside of the car. It's
Very much.
really, we go left at the, no, not here, at the end.
At the end. So, and then McLaren, basically only for many years a motorsports race car brand,
Yep.
Can-Am, and
Yeah.
then later into Formula One,
Yeah.
and starting to produce road cars.
That was since 2010, something like this. I think the
Something like
MP4
that.
Dash 12C was their first car,
road car.
like proper road car.
Yeah, that was at the time that Ron Dennis was still
The
managing the brand. So we have these two Formula One brands
Yeah.
who are also into road cars. Both can't make money with it.
No, because they make approximately 5,000 cars each.
Yeah, Aston Martin makes six, they
we
say.
go left on the
6,000 something.
Palm Canyon Drive.
And McLaren 4,000 something. So that is not enough to keep the motor running. So they have, I mean, Lawrence Stroll, the owner of Aston Martin, invested in the car brand, still looking for, I would say, technology partners. They make use from time to time from Mercedes technology.
Yeah, I think the V8s that they put in the other cars, that's an AMG engine.
Yeah. And this one has their own developed V12, now with twin turbos.
How do you think of the engine feels?
Well, I'm a little bit. I'm thrilled by the sound,
Yeah.
the smoothness of the V12, but it feels like a little bit like a lazy, somewhat lazy, sluggish engine with a lot of inertia. So maybe it's also that has to do with emission control. That the pickup and I would say shifting, for me, a little bit more sluggish than I expected. So the power is
Plenty.
huge. I mean, 800 horsepower, and this is a two-wheel drive car.
So it feels, the 800 horsepower, it doesn't feel like 800 because the traction control has so much
To do.
to do. But when it comes in, the 800, it regulates it down to maybe 500 and
I don't know.
then 6, 7, 8.
And you feel the push coming. Also the turbo, they need to spool up. They need to, it takes a little, there is some lag, so before the...
Yeah, but to me, the 830 horsepower with 1900 kilos, they do not really match, in my opinion.
You would have expected
Like more of a neck, you know?
Yeah, but I think the fact that the weight distribution of this car with a lot of weight in the front, the engine is in the front, and I think it's a big engine.
Yeah.
So we sit pretty much in the back, in the second half of the car, so to say.
Yeah, basically close to the rear axle.
Bit close to the rear axle.
Especially when you're my stature, giraffe stature,
Yeah.
all the way at the back of the car.
So that doesn't help the traction, and you would wonder if such a car would not be better off with four-wheel drive.
Yeah, but then you get into troubles with the transfer box, with the differential at the front. Then the engine needs to go up.
Yeah, so that doesn't...
Or you need to move further down the car. And then you get a bit of a strange feeling that we had with the Ferrari, with the SUV Ferrari.
Yeah.
That you're that far behind because you have a differential at the front, you have a V12 quite long, and you need to have that space basically in order to keep the engine and the center of gravity low enough. You need to make room for that. So that's a bit of a trade-off you have to make, and I think this feels a little bit more natural as a car, especially because you're not that far at the rear axle as the Ferrari.
And they improved a lot in terms of, I would say, traction, suspension. And that's always the challenge for a company like Aston Martin, also like McLaren.
Yeah.
You have relatively limited resources to do what you need to do to make this into a fantastic car. I think from a styling perspective, I think it's one of the most beautiful cars you can buy.
Yeah.
We have a little bit of a Palm Springs spec with blue interior, lots of carbon.
I think it's very, very blue.
It's pretty blue.
Because as soon as you step into the car, you're blinded by the reflection of the blue leather on the windscreen. So it's something else.
But okay, that's a typical, I would say, desert, Palm Springs, Rancho, Indian Wells type of LA type of specification.
What?
Wet? It's
Yeah.
not wet. Oh,
You
it's
probably
beautiful
need
weather.
a wet mode for this.
But to come back to our story about this car and Aston Martin as a manufacturer of road cars.
Yeah.
They have a SUV, but they still... The ambition of Lawrence Stoll is higher than selling 6,000 cars. He wants to get up to 10,000 cars.
What does he need to do in order to get there? In your opinion?
I think the SUV is not such a success because he had to use AMG technology for the drivetrain, and of course he doesn't get the latest state-of-the-art stuff. If you look at the interior of a DBX,
Yeah.
it's a little bit outdated stuff.
Yeah, I think also the entire entertainment system of the DBX
It's really...
it's from 5 to maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. I think here they took it a long way.
It's already it improved a lot. However, I still think that the technology that's used by a Tesla or by a Porsche is still a bit better in terms of like the responsiveness of the touchscreens, everything. Like, you know, you can see that the refresh rate of the head or
The dash.
the dash is a bit too low because the rev counter can't keep up.
Keep up with the engine.
Yeah, you know, these kind of details, I think, yeah, could have been a bit better. But all in all, like if you see the sun, what do you call these?
Yeah, blinds.
The sun blinds. The nice stitching, like the metal on the inside.
There's a
It's
lot
all
of
thought about.
craftsmanship,
Yeah.
but
But I think that's also Aston Martin, right?
yes, and I do believe that this car as a GT, it has only 2 seats.
Yeah.
It's limited space. It's a huge car, big
It's
car.
wide and long.
Wide and long.
Maybe that's also the reason why it doesn't feel like 1900 kilos and 800 horsepower, because it has such a big of a
Yeah, but I
platform.
think that the drivetrain is for me not as spectacular as I would have expected. I mean, Aston Martin is bringing out this Le Mans car, LMDH with a V12. I mean, that engine sounds amazing.
And it's not really Aston Martin that did that. Okay,
but
it's a private team who basically got a Valkyrie,
took a Valkyrie and
a straight Valkyrie,
and made an
already,
LMDH
which already cost 5 million.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, okay.
And then made a race car out of it, which is quite. We can go and switch a
Special.
lane.
What do we go to? I'm
We
in
go
the
straight.
wrong lane.
Yeah,
I'm in the
you're
wrong lane.
really in the
again.
wrong lane.
But to get back to our topic, because we compare basically 2 cars that are not that much related, because
No.
I think McLaren is way more racy,
Definitely.
but we can still look, okay, how much of the racing spirit is in this car.
Racing heritage. Basically.
Racing heritage and spirit, and so for me this is a beautiful GT.
Yeah. Nice to go for a Sunday drive. And I think the
Take your
McLaren,
wife. I think the McLaren is a little bit more harsh.
you can take this one shopping. You can take this one to the Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's. Do some shopping.
Do some shopping. Do some groceries, and you can take it to Beverly Hills and still be the eye catcher. And still, I think with a McLaren, it's
We'll
better
see.
up a mountain canyon road.
I think so. But I mean, Ferrari is the best example of this long-standing Formula One and motor racing heritage, putting that in cars.
Yeah.
I think Aston Martin still could make some inroads on bringing more of that motorsport into the design, not into the design, but into the technology.
Yeah.
But Lawrence is, of course, also limited by the amount of resources that he has available to develop cars.
Yeah.
And that is always a huge challenge for a company who's trying to produce 5,000 cars with various. I mean, they have an SUV, the DBX. They have the shorter V8s.
I did kind of lost track of what Aston Martin now really makes, because like you have the Vanquish, the Vantage, you had a DBS, you had a 177, basically DB12
Vanquish.
But like, what's all this about? Basically, it's all a similar car, only in slightly different styling. You could say the same from the 911, but that's just the 911. They don't call it differently. It's just a different version of the 911.
Yeah.
They don't have a 911, a 912, a 913, and a 910, right? And that's something I think is quite odd about Aston Martin, that they keep on reiterating on the same platform. Okay, then they introduced the DBX, the SUV, and then the Valkyrie, which is a very highly special
that's a
car.
real. I mean, that's a halo car for the brand.
Yeah, which is also developed in together with Red Bull, so they didn't do it on their own completely.
At that time, correct, because Adrian Newey was involved there, correct.
Cosworth built the engine, Newey did the aerodynamics, so Aston Martin basically just put the badge on them.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, but so driving this car.
I said, do you want it? Would you want to have this car?
I am hesitating because I mean, apart from the price in the Netherlands, it's like, I think here in the US it's also like $500,000.
Yeah.
In the Netherlands it's over $500,000. We lost a lot of the older Aston Martins. You had a lot of Ford type of buttons and stuff. I mean, they really did a much better job, a proper job. From a build quality, it feels also pretty good, but I'm a little. The V12 is not as exciting as I would have. It's
exactly.
brutal in terms of power.
Yeah.
But it doesn't grab me by the throat.
Exactly.
Where I do believe, but we'll find out a bit later. Now we are a little bit motorsports
biased.
Biased. So I think for a senior citizen who wants to cruise in a very exclusive, because like in the Netherlands they sell like 30 cars.
But I think the demographic of this car, or at least of the brand Aston Martin, is also a bit, a Porsche is a bit too much of the...
Too common.
It's too common. A Ferrari and a Lamborghini and a McLaren might be too loud and too extreme. This one's, it's exotic, but still sort of civilized.
And
right?
It's very stylish. I mean,
exactly.
The design from many years already for of the Aston Martin sports cars is outstanding. I mean, Ian Cullen did a fantastic job creating this family of cars.
Yeah.
But, how many stars would you give it?
I'd say...
If you have $500,000 to spend.
If I got $500,000 to spend, I'd say 4 stars. I just miss the raciness of the engine.
Yes, that's the biggest deficit, I guess.
And also, like, I would like to have a little bit more sound. Because
and not on sport again that you get it through the speakers.
No, because same as the other cars of today, basically. Yeah, you have a lot of noise coming through the speakers as the sports exhaust.
It is super exclusive, it's super beautiful, but I would have wanted the drivetrain to grab me more by the throat.
So you'd say how many stars?
4 stars.
4 stars.
You know. Okay. All right, let's switch
cars.
To the McLaren. This is a car of a completely different make. So this is a McLaren 750S.
Yeah.
With Senna seats.
Like, I like the seats.
They're beautiful and fantastic.
Like the seating position is perfect.
Let me
for
help.
a person of a bit smaller stature. What are you trying to do?
Well, I'm trying to get you into a more sporty setting.
Compared to...
Yeah, that's what I mean. So, are you going to put your pet off?
No, because otherwise it will fly off.
So
it should be a little bit more.
Car,
right? Where is the? It's this one, right? Yeah.
But I'm looking
like the last
for the
time I drove a McLaren, it took me, I think, an hour to find out where the.
of course, you had one for a while.
Yeah. Well, I drove it for 2 days, which was kind of interesting, like a 720. But I already feel
you're in a comfort.
Like the difference between the Aston Martin and
two
this.
worlds. This
because
is
now I feel racing. Like I'm on the front axle.
You are. Because I was going to explain, the engine is in the back.
In the middle, it's mid-rear.
Mid-rear. And we're sitting on the front axle. And it even like we're having a sort of pitch. Can you find...
Find what?
The sport mode.
Sport. Yeah. I've got sport now.
You got sport?
Yeah.
We have aero, so...
What's H? Oh, yeah, of course. You have hybrid and power, sport. So there's like 2 modes you can change.
There's no hybrid here, right? Buddy.
What's the H then?
I don't know.
P and H.
I don't know.
Okay, so there are 2 different sports modes.
We do the...
Oh, okay.
But this is an engine that sounds like a race engine. Select
well, at least
it
has a little bit more of a, how would you say it?
A racy feel.
It has emotion to it, a little bit more.
A lot.
Huh?
But okay, I cannot take, I mean, these seats are great for us.
For you, maybe.
Well, for you, yeah.
I'm over the roll hoop at this point.
Yeah, you're too tall.
Like my head's in the wind.
It's the same, and I cannot go down.
No, because it's bolted to the floor.
Bolted in. So okay.
It's these special
you
racing
cannot
seats.
have these engines. What's this?
What's this? What does it? What does it do?
Oh.
Oh, maybe aero.
More aero.
More aero. I want more aero. The only thing I don't like about McLarens is the pickup of the throttle. So it feels like you're still doing a manual drive off with the clutch, like while other cars with these kinds of gearboxes, they just drive off immediately. This always feels a bit like laggish, the McLarens. So
on the throttle.
Yeah, on the throttle. So like the first
the initial bit.
The initial bit of the throttle is a bit iffy for me, but
the whole experience of the car is way more racy. I mean, there's
of course
2 Formula 1 teams. They make both road cars, but this car is really something else.
Yeah, and what I like about this car as well, and by McLaren in general, you can shift down and up with one hand because it's a fully linked gear lever. So if I want to shift down, I can also do this.
Okay.
Like you can push the pull lever of upshift, which I miss. The first time I experienced this was in the RSR when I drove Le Mans.
Yeah.
And that was really nice because you can do your belts and then still shift up or shift down at the same time.
Yeah, I understand that. That's pretty handy. But this manual button, what is it?
Yeah, that's for shifting.
Okay, so are you on manual?
Yeah, well, I just always shift myself because I like to control the deceleration myself.
I think the H is the suspension. You have 2. You can
Power
set up a McLaren
2 ways. I think these chairs would not be my choice.
No.
Like, it's nice
it looks
when you go on track.
It's absolutely fantastic for a track, but if you bring your wife or your partner to something in this kind of...
You're like, I'm just with my left hand.
You can also shift up.
I like that.
I like that. So, complete different concept.
going back to the question at hand, or not really the question, like the theme of today. Is it we go right here, right? No.
I don't know where you want to go.
I want to go up to 74, like
74.
up straight,
Yeah.
and then go back afterwards. But I think we go up to the golf course and then we go back. However, yes. So, how does this car feel as a passenger?
A little less friendly, as I just experienced in the Aston Martin, of course. I mean, this car is basically could be better compared with a GT3 or something like that. Well, of course, this is a lot more expensive because from a pricing perspective, the Aston and this car are more or less the same.
Exactly. So
in the Netherlands, 400, and then you have another. This stop sign is serious. You have another.
So much more emotion in this car than this.
Huge.
You like the pickup? It's sluggish.
This car is okay, and then also we drive a Spider. So
okay, but how much horsepower does this car have?
750.
It feels like so much
way more than yeah. Let me check the weight of the.
Yeah, but it's also.
I think this car is
17.
No, this car is way lighter than. Okay. Wat weegt?
Yeah, so in my experience, okay, like for me this car would never work. For me the Aston would work because like my seating position in the Aston is so much better. Because I feel like I'm squeezed in the Senna chair. Okay, that's the chair. I'm in the... Look, if I just sit straight up, my hair's in the wind. But the feeling of this car is magnificent, eh?
But I tell you something else, mate.
No?
This car weighs 1,400 kilos.
Okay.
1,390. So
okay.
We're talking about a 500 kilo difference between the Aston and the McLaren.
That's something you really feel. That's also why we thought it was sluggish, right? For 830 horsepower.
Yes, that's a GT. This is a track day monster. And I think you really have to be careful with this one. If it rains.
Well, if it rains, you just stay in the pits with this car. Also with the Aston Martin. Like, if it rains, okay, with this one you can go on track. With the Aston, you would never go on track.
You would never want to do that. But would you want to drive this car? I mean, like today,
like
the Spider. You know, we're having a ride. We're going somewhere.
Like for me, it's a bit too uncomfortable.
Because of the seats, I think.
Because of the seats, because I'm so high up. Yeah. For me, it's not the best.
But I think, man, this is 500 kilo less. That's what you feel.
Yeah, but this is what I meant just now. This is like a real neck breaker, you know? Where you go on power, it's like, oh!
Whoa. I think...
And it doesn't stop. Like it doesn't...
No, it goes on and on and on.
It goes on and on, yeah. So...
Yeah, but okay, can you use this? It's not uncomfortable.
No, it's not uncomfortable.
I mean,
for small
we
people.
also drove a GT3 recently for a day.
And I think...
That's also pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah, but I think this one, okay, it has for only 400 miles. The GT3 had 7,500 miles. And I really think that the dampers here in the United States, they
work harder.
They work really hard, so they harden up really quickly.
What kind of suspension setting do we have now? Is
this is the Sport.
Okay, can you put it on comfort?
This is comfort.
Yeah, you feel the difference.
But it's so much more compliant than a GT3, I think.
I don't know. This is so basically it's so much fun because the Aston should be compared to the Bentley.
Yeah.
This car should be compared with the GT3.
GT3 RS. Yeah.
GT3 RS. Well, I would say even more a GT3 because I think the car is pretty usable on the road. Are we going to change positions or?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. 1 second.
Okay, so this is. I must say, McLaren. I drove a couple of 720s in the past,
but this is way better.
Way better. So
because
they did
also,
an amazing job.
Like from the start, I'd say, okay, like from 0 kilometers an hour, it can still use some work. Maybe a hybrid system, because the 675 has a hybrid system, right?
No, only the Artura.
Only the Artura, because I think that would make the car so much better.
I'm gonna turn around here, I guess.
Yeah, we're gonna turn around and then we put a like
UE?
yeah.
We can put a UE on it. Oh, I would go behind the bus.
Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't have done that. What you do now?
Why not? Now we're in the same position as the bus.
Okay, you win. Is it in are we going forward now?
Yeah.
That'd be nice. Okay. Not that we go backward. That would be awkward. No.
Yeah, it's good. Well, okay, so we're going to switch over there somewhere.
No, we're not going to switch.
No?
No, we're not going to switch.
You don't want to drive this?
Yes, we're going to drive in a minute.
Woo.
You're going to do another...
No. We're going to do right lane, must turn right. We're going to do some switches over here. But I think this car is infinitely more spectacular than everything.
Yes, but then
driven.
we still need to talk about...
So, okay, I think we can do here, right?
What?
Like a small switch?
Are we going to change?
Yeah.
Positions? Okay. I'm all for it. Is it in park?
Yeah, it's in park. Ugh. And I'm on my socks, by the way. Oh. How is your seating position?
I'm also a bit high. I think in that seat you're...
No, I think you're way too high in these seats. It feels like... Okay.
So, can I go?
That's cool, right?
It's an amazing car. But so I have 2 Formula One teams.
Yeah.
Who both have road cars.
Yeah.
They both don't make money.
Yeah. What does it matter?
No, yeah. Well, in the end, it will stop. McLaren wants to come out with also a version of a SUV.
Yeah.
Because they need to have something next to the sports cars.
Yeah.
Aston Martin did the same, but I think the DBX is not yet there when it comes to the sales success. If you compare it to an Urus,
yeah,
completely different ball game. I like what so the new boss of McLaren is ex-Ferrari CTO.
Yeah. Okay.
And he has added already in the last 2 years a lot of work on the Artura, and also I think in the 750 you feel the quality, because this guy was Michael Leitner. He was originally even at Porsche before he went to Ferrari, and he was there for 8 years. So he did a lot in terms of quality at the Ferrari, but he's also doing a lot in terms of build quality of the McLaren. And I feel it, because this is a car where he had already had his influence.
Because you really feel that
and I think it's more comfortable than it looks.
Definitely.
Because it looks like a badass race car, which it is.
it still is a badass race car.
It is a badass.
It's not as comfortable as the Aston. Let's say that.
No, but I think if you would go to a different seating, I mean, these seats are basically track day seats.
Yeah.
Great, but not for daily use.
Do you would you, if you have different seats, with the right seating position and everything, do you take this on a shopping run? You don't?
It's the same as a Lamborghini Huracan or Aventador. They're basically too extreme. Although the getting in and out with the, how do you call these doors that go up?
Butterfly doors.
Butterfly doors, that's easier than getting out of a car like this with a, okay, I'm going.
But do you?
That is,
the only thing is, what do you feel when you drive off from the traffic light? Do you feel the same as I feel with the, like it takes a while to really get up to speed?
because it's held back. Because if you would not do
No,
it,
no. But also like the initial part, like the getting away part, like with the clutch.
the clutch and also the turbos.
Yeah,
Because
okay,
you need
the
to
turbos,
spool up the turbos. This is a V8 turbo. So I think what you feel is the turbo, but also the car needs to move, because I think you will smoke the. I mean, you will either the traction control will start to work.
Yeah, maybe is it a single clutch? This one?
PDK. It's. I mean, to do this car at 1400 kilos. I mean, Aston Martin did an amazing job is doing 1900 on the Vanquish, which is a huge car, but also this car.
I think it maybe it's because of the clutch. Because it doesn't feel like a
Biting clutch.
Yeah.
It's
It's
a PDK engine, so I don't know. Maybe that's something we should ask. But okay, now let's
give it a stars.
Yes. How do you? So, what did the car do to you?
Like emotionally, it's a lot more than the Aston. However, in terms of comfort, and usability, it's less. So in my experience, this car is better, but not a lot better. Right? I would still give it 4.5 stars. I don't think, because maybe that's
5.
It's my position that I'm in as a tall person. This would not be a comfortable car for me to drive in.
For me, I love this feel.
Yeah.
I love the nimbleness, the steering and braking, and the engine, the sound.
Yeah.
You know, I love Porsches. That's not a secret, but I also really like this car. And okay, a Spider, maybe a coupe is better or more stiff, but also from a fun perspective.
Yeah.
Because this car, basically, you should compare with a Huracan, Spider, the new, what's it called? The
Temerario.
Temerario.
Yeah, but that's also hybrid, eh?
Yeah, and it's more heavy.
Yeah.
So, but this car is should be more compared to a car like that. It's also very outgoing. It's also something that everybody will see you. By the way, this car has a fantastic paint job with this.
Yeah, but
paint that has different
You're not
colors.
going to be noticed in this car.
No, you're going to be very noticed in this car.
It is
be very
the
noticed.
fact that we're in Palm Springs is the reason that not everybody is looking.
Exactly,
at this car.
because
it's sort of
belongs
normal
in.
here.
It belongs in. So,
but in the Netherlands, if you drive in Amsterdam, this car, you would have a lot of young guys,
vloggers and bloggers and what have you.
Exactly, making pictures.
For me, Max, I disagree. I think with 4.5 you're putting it short. If a car like this, okay, it's $500,000, it's a huge amount of money, 400 to 500,000 euro. It's an immense amount of money, but it does offer true value. I think when it comes to raciness, the whole experience of the car, the engine, for me, it's a 5-star. So
5-star car?
this is a 5-star car. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, but I think that all has to do with the form factor of me and the car, if they belong to each other, right? And that's why
it was already in a race car that you were too tall.
Yeah.
Often now this car also you're too tall. But we need to check on a later stage if there are seats which are more or are better for you.
But in the end,
I would say we conclude our broadcast with this amazing McLaren.
So one more time, give it a bit of beats.
Really? My goodness.
We're all abiding by the speed limit, eh?
Oh yeah. It's all over 40 miles, something. Fantastic.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Ciao. For now.